Good evening, welcome to the Goffstown Sewer Commission. This is our regular scheduled meeting. We're having it on a different night tonight. There must have been a conflict with the use of the room, so we're here on Wednesday instead of Tuesday. We'll start with our roll call and begin with Corey.
Corey White, Sewer Superintendent.
Keith Canton, Assistant Sewer Foreman.
Lynn Pooler, Sewer Secretary.
Dave Pierce, Commissioner.
Tim Redmond, Commissioner.
Daniel Taylor, Commissioner.
Mark Lemay, fill in for Jim Craig this evening,
Selectman's Rep.
Selectman's Rep.
Thank you.
Danielle Basar, Assistant Town Administrator.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. We open up our meetings with public comment. If anyone is here for public comment, now's the time to speak. Seeing no one is here, I will close public comment. Approval of minutes, October 8th. Anybody have any changes or recommendations on the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes of October 8th.
Motion is made to approve the minutes as presented by Dave,
Second the motion.
second by Daniel. Any discussion of the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion passes. New business, sewer rates, Dave Pierce.
Do we want to wait and just, Danielle's not on the agenda, do we want to
Oh,
let her
well,
go first?
yeah, let's, so she can go home to her family. Let's change it's not even on the agenda, is it, right?
No, because
Okay.
I didn't know she was
So
coming
Danielle
first.
has a memo for us tonight. Danielle, you have the floor.
Okay, I actually have a couple things for you tonight. Before you have an updated memo, last month you received a memo from myself and the Finance Director, Zach Coughlin, in reference to a recommendation to make a deposit into the Capital Reserve Fund that is held by the trustees of the trust fund. I understand from speaking with Lynn and reviewing the minutes that the motion that had been recommended had been altered. And I'm back here to discuss that with the commissioners. The motion as recorded is not an actual option that we can take.
disapproved.
Yes, that's not a valid action under the accounting standards. The vote was to move accessibility funds into the trustees' care, which is not available to us as an option. The recommendation stands that we would ask you to consider depositing excess cash, and I'm here to answer any questions and explain more about the memo into there. I can confirm that the deposit of $3.5 million was the initial deposit when the fund was opened. As you recall, that was done under a specific RSA that allows only for sewer or water enterprise funds to make this action. And there haven't been any deposits since. So 2020 was the last date that we actually made a transfer. And that's partly my fault, to be honest, because we wait for the financial year to close and be audited in order for us to evaluate the true accounting and ensure that no adjustments are made by the auditor. And then the intention is to return to the commission each year for them to make their motion. Unfortunately, having not done it since 2020, due to timing and everything, there is an accumulation of 4 years worth in there at this time.
And mostly our accessibility fees, is that what you're saying?
No, your accessibility fees are entirely separate. Your accessibility fees are not part of this account. Your accessibility fees at this time are valued at just under 1.5 million, and they're held in a separate account under an escrow held by the treasurer, which at this time is currently still myself for the town.
Our accessibility fees are not with the trustees of the trust fund?
They are not.
Why not?
Because they have to be, under the accounting guidelines, they have to be held by the treasurer.
Okay,
And so they are segregated into their own account,
okay.
but they're at a different bank.
Mr. Rev, later in this evening, I'm going to discuss a 10-year cash flow. I modeled cash flow for 10 years, and I park three types of money: the operating funds, the reserve funds held by the trustees, and I also have a line for the accessibility fee. And yes, I looked at it just this evening and prepared for this evening's discussion. It was on the order of $1.5 million.
Mm-hmm. And we have confirmed with the cash flow projections that were discussed with the finance director and I, as well as looking at the actual cash goals and cash flow of the sewer accounts, we're confident that this would keep you well-positioned to maintain all of your operating budget until your next collection that were to occur. And again, this is using the 2023 year end, so we actually kind of have the benefit of looking back at that completed year. There's no guessing, it's already been fully audited, we know for a fact what's there. And by making a transfer of this amount, you would still be able to meet all of your long-term solvency goals as well as your short-term operating cash expenditures.
So I'd like you to make it clear for the record, Danielle, that the amount you're recommending is $725,000. For people who are listening to this who are ratepayers, this is accumulation of how many years of not reviewing the books? 4 years, are you saying? Or 3 years?
Well, they've been reviewed every year, but we've not had this committee take an action. You're the only group as a governing body who can do that. But
So-
yes, 4 years, so it's
so
an
it's been-
average about 180,000.
So.
And that's mostly from savings from either projects being a little bit less than expected, or maybe a project wasn't able to be completed in the year that you expected and had to postpone it to a future year.
Well, I just want ratepayers to understand that this is not
Not a single year.
over-collection of funds that we're not using. This is accumulation of 4 years of not following through and moving money over to the trustees.
Correct.
Moving it from the accessibility fee.
The accessibility fees are not part of
This
this.
is not part of accessibility.
Yeah, this is from the operating.
From the operating, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions for the Assistant Town Administrator?
I would like to note, Mr. Chair, that the trustees are getting on average a 5% return. So the money that you do have in there is bringing in about just over $16,000 each month. So it is definitely to the benefit of the ratepayers to have those funds set aside and earning interest effectively, so that when you do have a project that comes up, you're able to draw from that.
Okay. So if anyone does not have something for questions or discussion, I would ask that we make a motion to deposit, and we'll insert the 725 in the highlighted area for the motion, if no one disagrees.
First, we should rescind the previous
Yes, but I,
motion.
okay, I agree with that.
So,
I'll make a motion to rescind
The prior motion?
the prior motion that was made on our October 8th meeting concerning transfer of funds to the sewer reserve fund.
Motion's been made to rescind the motion. David, are you seconding it?
yes,
Motion's been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Mark, I don't think you're a voting member.
Oh, okay.
I think it's commission.
He's just
Just to be on the
It
safe
was
side.
nice, it was nice that you spoke up,
Just to
but
be on the safe side.
Glad you
for the
agree.
record,
Yep.
for the record, if anybody heard it. the
Dave
voting-
made that second, right? You
Yes,
said
he
it,
did.
okay.
All right, so now we have a highlighted area at the bottom of the Finance Department memo. And does everyone agree to put in the $725,000 as recommended?
same amount of money, yes.
Yep.
Okay?
So, Mr. Chair, a motion to deposit $725,000, which represents the cumulative surplus from the sewer fund into the sewer capital reserve fund, which was established in 2020 in accordance with RSA 149-I:10, and to be held by the trustees of the trust fund. Furthermore, I move that we authorize the town treasurer to coordinate and release the funds into the trustees' custody in pursuant to RSA 35:7 and 35:10.
Motion's been made,
Second motion.
motion's been seconded. I won't reread it. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes.
Okay. Thank you very much. And the other item that I wanted to discuss with the commissioners today is the idea of separating the sewer operating budget into its own warrant article on the ballot.
Oh, I was wondering when that was
I
coming.
thought you would like that.
This has been a bone of contention for a long
many
time.
years, yes.
But we have to discuss the pros and cons of doing that.
Yeah, and I'm happy to answer those questions.
From our perspective, having a separate article is, you know, we can show in the article revenue coming in, revenue going out, and, you know, expenses going out, it's the same, it's a wash.
So there is statutorily required information that DRA sets forth, but we do have the ability to add kind of a sentence or so at the end. So as long as we get the language as required in the RSA, we do have a little bit of flexibility to make the note that this is funded by sewer user fees and not raised by taxation. It does allow the sewer commission to have, you still have to have an operating budget and a default budget during the calculation process. But if the article were to fail, say on the town side like it did this year, and we ended up with a default budget, the sewer commission doesn't go down with the ship, so to speak. You could still have your own operating budget passed individually.
That's a nice explanation, but what's the real reason why you want to separate them? Is it because we're artificially inflating the town budget? Is that, as we go back to?
Well, on the town side, there's the benefit that it doesn't, when we're coming out of a default budget, we're including the proposed $2 million for the sewer, which again is not showing the revenue out in the article language as it would show in the voter's guide. So that does make it look like the town is going to be collecting a higher tax effort when truly they're not, they're separate.
Are we still subject to the budget committee and the board of selectmen at that point then?
The budget committee always remains a factor. Even the water precincts that are completely independent village districts still have to go before the budget committee. However, the select board,
We would
Really
avoid-
wouldn't.
We would be relieved of the select board.
yeah, I mean, the select
Discussion.
board usually just hears about it because of the fact that it was rolled into their article, so they were aware of it.
That's fine.
I don't think they would have any major concerns if it's, they would still see it as a separate warrant article because they set the ballot.
Does the water precinct appear in front of the board of selectmen?
They do not.
Okay, so we would follow under the same measure. Okay. So still be budget committee, but not select board? Okay.
As a managers of this enterprise fund, we make a motion to increase our fees for annual use. And does the budget committee say you're bringing in too much revenue?
No, the budget committee has no say over the revenues. They're an appropriations committee, so
Okay.
they're really only looking at what you're setting your appropriations to be for that specific fiscal year.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? So is this something we have time to decide, or do you need a yay or nay tonight?
We don't need a yea or nay tonight. If you wanted to think about it, I could certainly plan to meet with you again when the time's right. The select board usually develops their warrant articles in December and January. So I don't know if, are you meeting again in December or would you not meet again till January?
I don't know.
I was hoping we wouldn't.
Do you, are you trying to get us out of this year's budget warrant article?
For 2025, yes.
So the presentations that were made already to the selectmen, that's that money you're talking about?
Yes, and the numbers are all still valid because they've been calculated. So there's still that open dialogue between the two boards. In fact, in case there's anything that needed to be shared or, you know, obviously we go out to bid for the benefits across all employees. You know, there's no separate benefit fund for just the sewer employees. So there is always going to be that shared stuff that we'll be able to come back to you and explain and support the numbers. But I don't think the select board is.
And by creating our own separate budget for a warrant article, we are not excluding ourselves from the town's insurance plans
No.
and all the stuff that we get numbers from finance for?
Correct. Yep, you still have all the same services through IT and finance. We still do all your bookkeeping, everything else, because your fund is entirely separate. So that's still happening already. It just breaks it out so when the voters see the number, they're not thinking that there's $2 million being collected on the town side, and they're also very clearly seeing that the sewer is self-funded by
I
user
don't-
fees.
I've never seen the water department's budget on a,
It
Town
is,
ballot.
they have a separate ballot. So the water precincts, because they are village districts, they actually have to hold their own separate town meeting, and they have to report directly to DRA, which we currently do all of that on behalf of the sewer commission because you are an enterprise fund under the town.
and when do they do that?
They do that each March, so they have to post their warrant the same way that we do, but they only post it to their people within their village district. And they have a day that they call to meeting, everyone has to show up. I believe, I don't know if they cast secret ballots or if they still do kind of by raising their hand.
Now, would the sewer department be able to do the same procedure?
No, you are not a village district.
For a couple of years, I did attend the Goffstown Village Precinct annual meeting, and I'm the only citizen there.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I do know that they actually have a state charter, which probably that makes it
It
separate
does
from
make
us.
it separate, yeah. So they're recognized by the state as a entirely separate entity. The sewer does not have that option under the
Luxury.
state RSA.
All right, so our warrant, if we decide to do this, our budget would appear as a separate warrant article on the town ballot with all the rest of the articles that are on the,
Yeah, we still list operating our budgets first. So we, by law, have to list the zoning changes first. And then after that, we place the operating budget
you know,
articles.
I have a kind of a problem now, because you're asking the entire populace of the town of Goffstown to vote on a budget that's self-funded. So I would think that only sewer ratepayers would be allowed to vote on it.
Well, that's one of the situations. We have 13,000 people in town. They
Yeah.
vote for us as commissioners,
Yeah.
yet we influence
Correct.
the cost of a business paid by 2,000 property owners.
Right, and that's the same.
Not the 6,000 property owners
Right, yep, so
that you
it's
do.
the same when it comes to your elections into these roles, it's the whole town. Same thing now, the whole town is voting on the budget as a single article. The problem is, right now, they're voting on it in conjunction with everything. So if they're, not happy with the town's tax collection, which is something that we hear fairly often from people, then they may kind of roll that all into one.
I think we need to discuss it as commissioners, because there's definitely some downside to deciding to step off on our own. And I want to discuss it with the commissioners before we make a decision. So we'll postpone that decision for at least another month.
Okay.
I don't know if we're going to get it in time for this year's warrant articles or not, but we will do our best to accommodate your wishes and see if we can get it done in time.
Okay.
We'll have a December meeting, I'm sure we will.
Mhm.
Even if it's a short meeting, we could have one item on the agenda. But it's early in the month, but way before the Christmas holidays, so
Yeah.
we'll be all right.
Yeah, it's usually early.
Okay, so we'll give you an answer on that later.
All right.
You have anything else for us?
No, not at this time. Is there anything else that I could be of use for? Right.
No. Laura, you got anything?
We're going to discuss potentially raising the use fee.
We've
annual
got
use
an
fee.
agenda item, Lynn, about vacation time. Does that?
That, well, yeah, I could
Do you want me
say,
to
well,
answer
she's
that?
here. Like last year, we had to have a special meeting after our December meeting because the select board decided to let people get paid out for unused vacations.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to be proactive we don't know right now, but if they decide to do that, can we do some kind of a motion that, if somebody,
Well, why aren't people using their vacations?
it's not me, I'm using
She's
mine.
used to
Oh, you're just the.
No, I know Corey had a lot left last year, and we had to meet, later to do that, and I just
Well,
thought if he
let's
had
let's
left
ask our
over.
two employees, do either one of you have excess vacation time that's problematic?
It's not problematic. I mean, I have a ton I need to burn and I'll burn it up.
You need to burn it up before the last month.
I'm
Yeah, there's
trying.
only 6 weeks
I'm
left.
trying. Yeah, there's 4 of those are probably being gone.
Yeah.
I think it's beneficial for the commissioners to consider that you guys use your vacation time rather than
Yeah, I'd rather burn it.
than take money for it.
Yeah, I'll burn my time.
Okay, so we're not gonna get surprised in December to,
No, if I don't use
Okay.
it, that's my own fault.
okay. Then that
We had
works.
extenuating circumstances in years prior where I couldn't use the time.
Because you were by yourself.
Exactly.
Now you have
I have Keith, so there's
So
no,
there's,
I
I'm
wouldn't be
hoping you
asking
can just disappear for a little, every once in a while
Yeah,
and
I'm-
use your vacation time.
for the rest of the month, for November and December, I have a bunch of times I'm gonna burn, so
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
all
good.
set in that fact.
All right, then, I don't think we have to worry about that question, Lynn.
And that's it then.
Check that off the agenda.
I did.
Great.
Dave, do you have anything else for finance?
Do you have an extra copy of that for Danielle?
Yeah.
Danielle, in the next few moments, we're going to discuss the modeling of cash flow
Okay.
over the next 10 years and the influence of our annual use rate is. And just for your interest, you might want to overhear what we're talking about.
Okay.
All right,
So, are you ready for the next?
I think we are done with Danielle. You had all your items are checked off?
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
We got
So
rid
the-
of the 24 remaining vacation
Yep.
time, so we're on sewer rates. Dave?
So, yes, the subject is the annual use fee that our customers pay per treatment unit. And I'm referring to this sheet here. The first block of data up top is what we discussed a year ago. And that would model our cash flow, the cash account and the reserve fund, if we did nothing and we remained at $400 a year as a use fee per treatment unit. And you can see that in 6 years later, our reserve fund is going to run out of money, which is
2030.
2030. Bad idea. So the middle block of data was what our model was a year ago. We decided to implement a $50 per year rate increase. So the cost per treatment unit was $450. And that modeled out that the reserve fund is more or less stable between 3 million and 3.5. The end of the year, our cash account hovered over between 300 and 400. So this evening, we have a pending decision. Do we want to do any sort of increase for 2025?
Okay.
In retrospect, looking at what the model was that I presented to you last year, I was heavy up front, and then you see in the year 32, 33, it's nothing. We probably reached a very stable location. What I did in this evening's modeling of a rate increase is I lowered the immediate increases for the next couple of years and then picked up more funds in the last 2 years. The result is our reserve fund would still be at the $3 million level. Our amount of cash in the end of the year would still be 200. It does get down to the low 100s, but cash on hand is not terribly concerned because we have the reserve to dip into if this modeling actually came true. The benefit is that we would come from a $50 increase last year down to a more modest $20 increase, which is $10 per 6 months for the per treatment unit. And then we would start I modeled every other year, $20 one year, and then 40 the next, 20 the next, and then 40. The $20 is a modest increase. I know we went to last year alert letters to all our customers saying, for the first time in 20 years, we're considering an increase. But we're in the mode now as a business enterprise that we really need to consider some type of increase every year. And this is my model. I mean, I got my laptop with me, I got my 10-year of cash flow modeling in this, and for DNL, every one of our budget lines had something going forward, showing money going in, going out, on every one of our budget lines. So I'm rather comfortable that I'm trying, I'm correctly covering how the money flows in and out of all our lines. And if you wanted to tweak some of these, I can certainly do it on our laptop. It'll just take me a minute, but I feel this is a comfortable position. We're not, to make a $20 increase rather than, as we tentatively were suggesting last year, at 30.
Question for Corey White. How many more years of sewer construction do we have, in your opinion, that is in the $5 and $6 and $7 and $800,000 range that we've been experiencing?
7 years.
Another 7 years?
Yeah, and basically I did model $600,000 for
That's
some
the
type of
average, yeah.
construction every year.
And then when we reach that threshold, is that a point when we're gonna be in more of a maintenance mode? Do you foresee anything else needing replacement, or are we pretty much into durable pipes like PVC and asbestos, different pipes that are durable as opposed to the clay tiles, which are basis of most of our problems?
Most of that will be replaced, but there'll still be others that were cambered 30 years ago now that will have to get cambered again and checked.
That are clay tiles?
That are clay, not lined.
Okay.
And we do
So-
have a select number that are still that way. A lot of them back years ago were kind of on the spectrum to be lined. But before you can line them 30 years later, you gotta check them again to make sure there's nothing actually broken where you would need to do a point repair.
And prior to the funding increases we're looking at from 2020, 2021, we were in for like 300,000 to 400,000 was a big number for sewer replacement project. Now we're looking at 6s and 7s and 8s.
Inflation.
So
Yeah,
we've
like-
got at least a 40% increase, 40 or 50% increase on our costs, which is driving Dave's model.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
So Dave,
another benefit of how I modeled this is for the next couple of years, my recommended potential increases are more modest than what I did a year ago. But essentially, the bottom line is it keeps us healthy, and it really buys us time, so that if 3 years from now, when the commission maybe does the same sort of cash flow, if they are in more dire straits, go looking into the future, it has more time for them to make more aggressive changes in the rates rather than my more modest changes.
Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of modest increases versus us having to catch up in the future. It's been, so. Yeah.
What I see that is a little troubling to me is the up and down nature of the years. Because people get accustomed to their sewer bill. They've been accustomed to paying one bill for the last 20 plus years. This year it's a little higher. I think that whatever model that the commissions adopt, I think we should adopt a declining number model so that we don't go down to 30 one year and up to 40 the following year. I think we should adopt a declining number model. So if you were to go with the 25 being 40 and move that down to 28 and make it then a rack of 30s after it, you'd end up with the same number at the bottom. I'm thinking, not without doing the math, obviously your computer does it, but I would like to see us adopt something that is on a declining price schedule from the beginning and not a bump up and then a bump down, because people will become very unsettled when their sewer bill goes up this year and go down next year, they're gonna want explanations as to why this is happening.
Yeah, so being a little bit more aggressive right up front makes that you don't, has much more impact than trying to make an aggressive impact later down the road. You have a longer time to keep receiving increased funds.
And we're not alone, because Manchester raised their rates, I believe, 9% each year for a long period of time. I don't know how many years they pushed it out at a 9% per year increase, flat number, no declining schedule. I don't know if they did that as a package for a 5 or 7 year deal, or if they have to vote on it annually, the same as we do. Because we're obligated to vote on this annually, correct, Dave? We can't do a multi-year,
Correct.
we have to vote on these increases on an annual basis.
So we have, this modeling is not influencing the bill you're sending out in another week. It's for the bill next May.
Well, I would be in favor of seeing you
I mean,
reverse those.
Potentially, it could impact the budget, because in our budget, we have to say what our projected revenue is.
Right. But maybe we use some of the funds to get ahead of the curve too. We talked about, when I made our budget presentation to the select board, we talked about the amount we budgeted for pumps at $15,000 apiece, and Selectman Adams wanted to know if we had considered being proactive in buying pumps, and I said, you must have been listening to the meeting, because we talked about that at the prior month's meeting. So we could do that with our slip lining process too. If we found that we were going to, get a couple of projects that came in and we had surplus funds in that particular construction year, maybe we could look at some slip lining projects, and if they were reviewed and you got your camera work done ahead of time, maybe we could do that and then really be able to back off at the back end, because we will have spent the money about 3 years earlier. So that's something for you guys to consider, trying to get into your schedule and bringing it forward.
Would the commissioners want me to take that third box at the bottom? Would you like me to bring back to the December meeting several variations you can give me tonight, and we can see how they model out?
Well, the thing is, if we started at 50, which was the big kick,
Yes, we definitely need to.
if we reduce 25 to 40, 26 to 40, and 27 to 40, 3 years at 40,
Right.
and then move that 25, which is at $30, into the 28
No,
slot,
Look, this is what I'm recommending.
I don't want that at all. That's the up and down. I don't like
Yes,
that.
well, yes, I had to pick a model.
Well, I'm going back to your original model.
Okay.
That's what I like, your original model.
Okay.
It looks good. So if we were to move 25 down to 28 and move 28 up to 25,
I don't understand what moving down means.
well, put the $30
Yes,
in that slot right there,
yes.
and then put that 40 in that slot up there. So now it's 50, 40, 40, 40, 30, 30, 30, 30.
Okay, three 40s and then.
And then 3 30s.
Yeah.
And now we have a declining billing model that we are presenting long-term, and we're gonna follow through on it. And, do we need to have a public hearing on this type of thing?
No.
No? Okay. Well, we could have an informational meeting one night if any residents were concerned. We could invite them. I mean, we can't do a notice, but we could put it out there somehow that we're having discussions, and if anybody wants to attend, it's pretty standard. So Daniel, do you have your opinions on things here?
Yeah, I agree with the 20, then 40, then 20, then 40. You're going in one year we're gonna increase a small amount, and then the next year we increase a larger amount, and back to a smaller. I mean, you're always increasing, no matter what.
Right. But I think there's a lot of people that would become agitated if their sewer bill was to go up and then go down, and then go up and go down, because they like to budget.
Well, it would
Well,
go
the
down,
bill
it would
would
go
never
up
go
every
down.
year, just a little less, you know,
Right.
it's not gonna go down.
Well, the
Right.
increase would be
Yeah.
less. So the increase this year was 20,
It was 50, 25 each time.
yeah. So I'm just thinking of the ratepayers when they get their bills. What their mental outlook's gonna be at it, you know, why is it more than it was last year? How come it's less all of a sudden?
I don't think they're gonna say that, I can tell you what I heard this year when it went up, they're just going to complain that it went up, doesn't matter
Well, I'm
by how
sure
much.
We have
there.
to maintain the system,
Mhm.
and
That's what I explained.
the thing is too, is that the commissioners in prior elections, elected commissioners, never chose to raise the rate. They actually doubled the accessibility rates at one point. They never really adjusted the user rates. And the user rates are what's meant to fund the department.
That's what I tell
Accessibility
them.
money and those other things, they're meant for the reserve funds for emergencies. And and if we can start using that money for construction, then maybe we can slow things down in 30 and 31. Maybe we could end that sooner. But you know, we're only gonna get so much of that accessibility money. We've been, for the record, for everybody listening, we've had several large projects in town go through that paid large amounts of accessibility fees. The Factory Street project, Bog Road project. We've got 2 more condo projects coming in, one next to the Shell and one down in Pinardville. Now, nothing else has been presented for our town, and that could be the end of the influx of accessibility fee money for a long time. We don't know that it's coming. It only comes with developments.
Mr. Chairman, so I modeled the
Changes?
$50 that we had this year, and then there were 3 $40 increases,
Mm-hmm.
followed by 4 increases of 30,
Mm-hmm.
and then 0. And that satisfies the basic objective of having cash flow end each year at close to 300,000, and with our reserve fund ending between 3 million and 350. So
So the bottom line in 2033.
it would be an acceptable model of,
What
if
is,
all the assumptions are true, it would work.
so the EOY column, reserve fund, for 2033.
End of year.
What is the bottom number where you presently have 3.5 million for 2033? What is that number?
Okay. That number, held by the trustees, 3,480,000,
Okay,
which is
which is only 20.
yeah.
It's
The numbers you see.
very, very close.
The numbers you see, I rounded off. You know.
Oh, that's fine.
It could have been 50,000 left or 50,000 more.
But we're-
I tried to keep the presentation simple.
But by rotating things around a little bit, we end up with the same result, basically, at the
Yes,
end.
had I not looked at the number to the dollar value, I would have said 3.5 million.
That's fine.
Same bottom line.
All right, Daniel?
Just for a baseline, if we stayed at 450, when would we run out? Because at 400 we were running out around 2029. How long did this $50 increase kick the can down the road?
Daniel, having no increases for the next 6 or 7 years, our cash remains good. We go broke in 31.
Okay, so
It's
just
only a
1 year.
3-year difference.
Yes, it starts at 2.5 million, the next year 1.7, next year 1.1, $500,000, and then it's negative $1 million.
Dave, why did the end-of-year cash account for 2033 jump up to 450?
I thought about that. It's the there are like 25 capital improvement projects we pay for every year for Manchester, and it's their maturity date.
Well, that's not to say,
Certain dates,
that's not to say they're not gonna infill more projects.
that's right.
Okay.
Right,
So that, I think that's
Yes.
a false number.
As all those capital projects that are already on the books that we're gonna be paying for the next 20 years, as they mature and go away, but then new ones come in, and of course I can't model what the
No,
numbers
because
are.
you don't know what they are.
New
I doubt
one-
if
and new ones will be more expensive.
I doubt if the federal government is gonna give them a break and tell them they don't have to spend any more money.
So, good point, Daniel, if we do no increases, we're in a very dire position in
2031?
31, yes.
All right.
We'll be taking loans in order to pay the bills. So yes, we do have to increase, we do have to have some sort of increases every year to remain in a preferred position of having sufficient money.
Now, if anything was to change and we discovered that we were not spending as much as we have projected, we could reduce the increase sooner than, from the 40 to the 30, sooner than 29. We might be able to move things back, but that's all based on whatever happens
This is an
in the
annual
next 3 years.
decision. Yes,
Right.
that's the flexibility we have.
Right. So I think we should I think we should have a final finality on this discussion. I'm going to ask for a poll of the commissioners about changing $25 to $40 and then
$40.
and changing $28 to $30. Daniel, do you concur with that modeling?
I'd support that.
And I support it. David?
Yes, I do.
All right, so we all support it.
So, Mr.
So we'll make a
Chairman,
chair, yeah.
motion that the use fee for 2025 be increased by $40 a year.
Second the motion.
So the new rate per treatment unit would be $490.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
No
Aye.
one seconded it.
I second
Oh,
it.
you did? Okay. Okay, sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Thank you,
Doesn't
David,
the
for your
select
work.
board wish it would be so easy to make rates?
Well, we're the bad guys because it wasn't done in smaller increments over a longer period of time. We're playing catch-up at this point. And COVID and everything else changed the whole price structure for construction. It's, when we time out of major construction projects, then things maybe can ease off. But until the major construction projects are completed, we don't have the luxury of not doing anything. Okay, thank you, David, for all the modeling. Okay, Danielle, this is probably a good time for you to say,
I'm gonna leave before
Good night.
something else comes in.
I mean, unless you like hanging out. You have a family, I think, at home that needs you.
Yeah, I do.
Don't you go back up to your office and go back to work.
I know. I was telling them that. I said, if I go up, I'm gonna just get into something else and be here for 4 hours, so. Thank you all.
Thank you for
Have a good
coming.
night. Thanks,
Good night.
Danielle.
The next item on the agenda is from Corey. He wants to discuss work hour schedules. Corey?
So I wanted to present the board the idea of, instead of changing our schedules from twice during the year, because we go from April 15th to October 15th, a 10-hour day schedule, and then November 15th, April 15th, we do an 8-hour schedule. I'd like to just stick with the same schedule year-round, being the 10-hour day schedule. A lot of the other departments, DPW comes to mind because they had this idea at one time. And it was harder for them because of snow. If, you get called in on their Monday off, you're paying a ton of overtime. With us, it doesn't really factor in because Keith is here, I'm here on Mondays, Keith is here on Fridays when I'm off. And during the week, you actually have better coverage Monday through Friday, because we're here 6:30 to 4:30 instead of 7 to 3:30. So there's no lack in coverage on any day during the week, and you actually get better coverage.
So you have a paid lunch break?
The 10-hour days, we do not have a paid lunch break.
How does it work then?
Two 15-minute breaks during the day.
Okay.
Whereas the 7 to 3:30, you actually punch out for a half-hour lunch.
And what's the benefit to the sewer commission for you being granted this request?
Better coverage during the week. Longer coverage. And we had this Friday, because we've gone back to the 8-hour schedule. Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm back.
Okay.
What do you mean
HR
by
director, so I
longer?
just wanted to catch the
Discussion?
discussion to make sure I understand.
So Corey, you mentioned longer coverage during the day. Does that mean one of you starts early in the day and the other one starts later?
No, like right now, we work 7 to 3:30.
Both together?
Both together. On the 10-hour day schedule, we work 6:30 to 4:30. So we're actually here longer every day. And on Friday, Keith got home and came right back because there's an emergency dig safe at 4 o'clock. Does that happen often? Not like every week, but it happens a lot where in the late afternoon you end up getting a phone call. I personally don't see a downside to it.
So tell us about your snow plowing duties in the winter if you were off on a snow day. How does that work?
So if it were to snow on a Monday, both of our trucks have plows on them. If I'm working and Keith is off, I will take care of any plowing needs, and vice versa on a Friday. Keith would take care of it. And when it snows on the weekends, if it's something we can leave until Monday, if we know it's not gonna freeze or whatever, we'll just leave it till Monday or vice versa and take care of it.
And your regular duties for pump station monitoring on a day when the other man is not working, how does that work? And you have to also plow that day?
You have to plow each pump station anyway, so when you stop at the pump station, you take care of your daily checks.
Okay.
And we're not, whether it's light or dark, or it doesn't really factor in for us, because we're going indoors in the morning, then our office work and anything we need to do outside, we do during the daylight.
Other commissioners with questions?
Okay, so Corey, recap, what would your recommended schedule going forward?
A 10-hour day schedule from 6:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
And which days are you off, Corey?
I would have Fridays off and Keith would have Mondays off.
Okay, I missed the bottom line. This is year-round rather than summer only.
Correct,
Okay,
year-round, instead of
I
going
missed that at
between
the
8
beginning
hours
of the
and 10 hours.
conversation. Okay, thank you.
Dan?
And it will benefit a little bit more this year with the projects that are going on, because we're gonna be here later every day with Lamontaine. Because they're gonna do sewer throughout the winter.
How about your summer responsibilities for inspections on new projects?
It's the same, nothing changes because we're on a 10-hour day schedule during the summer as it is. So there's always somebody here Monday through Friday.
Danielle wants to
And-
say something, I'm not sure what. She's raising her hand over there.
So this was the first summer that you had this with,
No,
This is the first summer with Keith,
Keith.
but we've always done the schedule.
and it's worked out so far.
The 10-hour days schedule has always worked out, yeah.
Highway Department for years and years has had a 10-hour
Yeah.
summer schedule as defined by the request of the director and approved by the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, I mean specifically with Keith,
Yeah,
since he's a newer employee.
correct.
Mark, you want to weigh in on this? Do you have anything to say? No?
To me, it offers the town better coverage, less chance for any issues to develop, and I like it.
So now I understand what you said. It provides more coverage on the Mondays and Fridays, because instead of you being here just for, one of you for 8 hours, you're here for 10
10,
hours on those
correct.
days. So it's extended coverage.
Hmm.
What
Provides-
happens if somebody's out, like he's out on the day you're out? If he's sick on your day off?
Then I come in.
If our,
But you would come in on overtime.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please?
So, from an HR perspective, it does give you more coverage across the service hours. What's good about it, as Corey kind of mentioned in passing, the on-call or the callbacks that we're seeing could be reduced because we are seeing those fairly regularly. Additionally, it does allow for them to have flexible hours because it's a 4-day week. The sewer commission could allow under the superintendent's authority to adjust the schedule as needed for those kind of one-time adjustments. So what we see quite often in some other departments where they have kind of a flexible is, hey, I ended up coming in to cover because you were on vacation. I knew you were going to be out. So Corey went ahead and worked Monday, because Keith was on vacation. And then when Keith's back, Corey takes a different day off in that same week because it's within the same pay period. You don't have to do the overtime.
As long as they agree to do that, that's a good point.
And that's kind of how it's worked with us
I mean, we
this
don't-
whole entire year.
We don't need to have a written agreement, we just need to have a gentleman's agreement.
We do have to put something in writing under Department of Labor standards, which is why I came back in to make sure I could get the details properly. But I would put it to them in a letter saying that your schedule, as approved by the commission, is this, and that flexible adjustments will be made under the superintendent.
Because technically, they're supposed to vote twice a year on the schedule anyways, right? To go to 10-hour days and to.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll roll them into one, so we'll see one vote that says it'll be 10 hours from this date, this time to this time, and then it kind of already builds into that first motion when it's gonna sunset.
Well, yeah, because you put the sunset date into the motion, so you
Right.
don't need to make another motion.
Right.
so Corey, if a major development is being built and you know that contractor, general manager is going to coordinate with you to be on site for the line to be installed, and he says, I would hope that I'm going to work from 8 o'clock through 6 o'clock in the evening, and then we're going to wrap it all up by 6 o'clock. Would you modify your time on duty?
No, you'd stay until they're done.
Okay.
Because you're not gonna get halfway through a piece of pipe and be like, oh, you need to stop.
No, what I was getting at,
Well,
do you check in later because you know you're going to go home later?
No, because you don't know if you're gonna have to stay later. Because in the construction world, that changes daily.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the best intentions and they got what they wanted done in
Yes.
7 hours, and the next day, that actually took 11 hours because they hit ledge or something like that.
Mhm.
So there's a-
also as a supervising authority from the sewer department, you have the right to tell them that your inspections are limited to certain hours, and they must stop work within your time frame because you're not staying until 8 o'clock at night with them to do inspections.
And we have that discussion at our pre-construction meetings.
Good.
Well, one thing you didn't mention that I will mention on your behalf is that costs of coming to and from work in these town vehicles. If you're only coming in 4 days a week, now you've reduced the fuel and mileage on both vehicles substantially because you're only coming in 4 days a week versus coming in 5 days a week. So there will be savings for mileage and fuel consumption and the life mileage of the vehicle. Since you forgot to say it,
I didn't. I appreciate that.
Dan, you've been pretty quiet.
So, since April, you've successfully, from my point of view, successfully managed the sewer system with 3 days a week of 2-man coverage and 2 days a week of 1-man coverage. And I don't see a reason why that would change.
We could do it on a probationary period for this, this calendar year or something, and we can review it at the end of the year, and if there's been problems, we have the right to change your schedule back.
Would be fine with that.
Nothing's forever. Not even you.
Oh, I know that, I'm over every day, it's these meetings.
All right, so do we have any more discussion on this, or are we ready for a motion? Because it'd be good to dispose of it tonight, unless people want to think about it for another month,
I'm
and then
fine,
we can discuss it next month.
I'm fine with
I'm
where
good.
we reached. Dan?
Do we need to say anything special? Or?
Well, subject to an
Just-
agreement with through finance.
So, motion to adjust the work schedule for our sewer, for just our
Yes.
superintendent and assistant
I don't know, you can include me if you'd like.
employees, to move to a 10-hour, 4-day-a-week work schedule, continuing the schedule that we have from April to November, and continuing that through
Just make it a year-round,
Yeah.
year-round.
Yep.
Changing it from
seasonal to year-round.
seasonal to year-round.
So, I will,
And then subject to,
Subject to
An
Department
agreement.
of Labor requirements
through the finance department.
through the Finance Department, or HR.
That cover it?
Okay.
yes, I'll second this adjustment in the work hours schedule.
Okay. Motion to approve the request for a 4-day work week for the sewer department employees, Corey and Keith, has been made and seconded in motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Okay, so you're gonna have to get together with finance and give finance the details of your scheduling and your dates off.
I think I have it,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
so
see.
I'll draft it and, Tim, I'll send it to you for signature as the chair,
Yep,
and then we'll officially give it to each of them once it's complete.
but can they continue on a 10-hour schedule, or should they wait until that's been done before they switch to a 10-hour schedule? What's your recommendation?
They can continue, that's fine. It's just that we
Well, no, they're
have,
on 8s now, right?
Yeah, when
Well,
You went back to 8s when the town
I wanted to
did,
make sure we went back to 8, so
Mhm.
we weren't doing anything wrong.
so you would
Before we
be,
got to talk to the
once the
commission.
agreement gets signed, then you guys can flip back to
So
10 hours.
honestly, I just need an effective date, so if you wanna make that effective today, that's fine. I just have to put it in writing to them and note that the effective this date, you can start that schedule.
so right now it's effective until the 15th. Was that it?
Why don't we make it,
Effective Monday.
And
Effective for the pay period, starting Monday.
Starting Monday, yeah.
which would be
Is that
November
agreeable?
what? You were looking at dates.
today's date.
Today's the 13th.
November the 18th,
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
effective November 18th. Okay. Do we have to have an amended motion, or is that just, probably should do it legally? Do an amendment to your motion, please.
I amend my previous motion to include an effective date of November 18th.
Dave?
Yes, second?
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Okay, so we amended it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we are going to move on to the hot topic. And I'm going to, since I see Dave's name next to it, I'm going to let Dave, first of all, Dave, could you explain to the commission what prompted this discussion?
Maybe a month ago, the commission approved a draft agreement to be sent to St. Anselm's College. concerning the agreement which defines a process for the review and setting of our rates for their treatment units. And the college came back with the document that you have here with black font, red, green font. And they threw, very properly, they threw a curveball at us, but they were correct in doing it. They actually listed the properties which would be covered by this treatment units. And Mark, we've been through maybe a year-long process that the college would go from 275 treatment units a year to, we agreed upon finally 300.
And what was the recommended amount?
300.
And what was the record, based on the treatment unit formula? It wasn't 300, it was higher than that.
Oh, if we, yes, if they stated to us the number of employees they had and the number of students they had, we would then apply those numbers in a state schedule table of rates, and we would, mathematically, we'd come up with 390? 380, it was on that order.
No, I thought it was more than that.
Well, anyway, a substantial higher number.
Yep.
And through a series of dialogue, we agreed that there are circumstances with the students being on campus that it was correct to waive how those calculations were determined. And we came down to, we were happy with the number 300 treatment units. So the typed document that you see on the table tonight was their response to the draft agreement that was submitted to them.
So they've, anything that's red is something they removed, anything that's green,
Well, no,
something.
the black, excuse me, the black and the red was what they submitted. And under the paragraph called recitals,
Yeah,
you can see that they listed 8 property units. And in the middle, in red, you see I crossed out one because it was a duplicate, and Lynn verified this with the college. It was a duplicate of the very first one that was listed on line 2. And of course, they ended their paragraph with the words that this flow, which flows directly into the City of Manchester sewage system at a flow metering station located at the southwest corner of such and such street. Well, that immediately alerted me. I asked our sewer superintendent, these 8 parcels that now are going to be covered by this agreement, if you look on the map graphic, the 8 parcels are identified by their map and lot number with bold black lettering. The ones that have a box around their map lot number, those are the ones that physically flow through the metering pit.
so they want to add all these other ones around the perimeter and include it in the 300
Yes,
treatment units?
inside the little red box, you see 2 property numbers.
Yeah,
Then you have on the other side of St. Anselm's Drive, you have the security and maintenance complex. And then 341-1 is the Abbey. So
I have that one.
Oh, okay.
those 4 parcels that do not have a black box around them, 3 of them, their lateral connection goes into a sewer line somewhere else. The flow does not go to the metering pit. And 1519 is a septic system, which, lacking any official documentation, I'm assuming that some prior commission 40 years ago when the agreement was put in place, they, yes, that facility had a septic system, and they waived it as not part of the agreement.
Does it have a septic system today?
Yes, it does. So, the issue before us then is they would like to include these 8 articles, 8 parcels, as being covered by the comprehensive agreement of flow. And if you, now, that led to me prepare my Excel spreadsheet, Mr. Chairman, which I list information about all 8 of those parcels. And of course, right at the top, in where, under the column, where is the flow directed, I have the first 4 are the flow, the first 4 on my list, those parcels flow to the metering pit. That, if you go one column to the right, under the parcel that has the Institute of Politics on it, they presently pay individually 1 treatment unit. If this agreement would include map 13.8, we would cancel that billing account because that sewer would be covered under the new agreement.
And that flows into the,
Yes, it does. The first 4 parcels, which I've highlighted in red, they flow to the metering pit.
So,
You go down one line, item number 5, map 1475, that's their security and maintenance complex at 84 St. Anselm's Drive. There's a lateral which connects into College Road. We presently build them 2.5 treatment units. When the 1990 agreement was put in place, the commission at that time, they considered this particular property not to be covered by that 1990 agreement, and they continued building them as an individual parcel.
okay.
But under the concept of the agreement we're dealing with now, they document how many employees are part of the whole campus. Well, some of those employees work at this maintenance facility.
No, that's not what we agreed to.
No, we agreed to receive information from them on how many employees are on the whole campus.
Right.
Yes, we're asking for that data. So, on the middle of my page, my thoughts are, my basic principle for my recommendations on what's covered by this agreement and what's not. The SOAR calculation starts with the college's total load of all employees and all students, and therefore, where the flow enters the collection system is not a limitation. That flow can go into 3 or 4 different laterals and the metering pit. It makes no difference. Their flow is for the entire complex of the college, and that's what the agreement.
They based all their arguments on the metering pit and the data generated by the metering pit. So that's what the discussions have been about since the first day here. Their population is a number they backed it with. But I do not agree that we should be letting, how many of these presently pay a bill? Does 341-1 pay a bill?
Right, it's on this chart here. 1, 2.5, 7.
So,
So the one that I gave you, the bottom 3 pay their own bill, and then the one,
Yes.
that 363 pays all those mapping lots below
She
it.
said 1, 2.5, and 7, right? There it is. 1, 2.5, and 7. She just duplicated what I did.
so 363,
That is the one that picks up the present bill of $275.
so we're considering giving up map 13, lot 18 as one treatment unit to include it in the total calculation.
Lot, yeah, 13A,
And
because it would now be covered.
so we're talking about one treatment unit so far.
Correct.
And that's all they're asking for? Or are they asking for those other two which already have bills?
Yes, there's
All
eight,
three.
there's eight parcels. There's
1475.
8 parcels they want covered by the agreement, which I've listed 1 through 8.
1557. 13.8, oh, that's down the road. That's complete, that's way down the bottom of the hill. Well, I would not be opposed to giving up the one treatment unit because it presently goes to the metering pit and cancel that bill. But I don't believe we should give them the security and maintenance complex, the Glen Ridge Drive building, and the Institute of Politics on our lump agreement.
When was 13-8 built, constructed?
Institute of Politics,
Yeah.
I can only assume it was before the 1990 agreement.
And that goes into the
But-
metering pit?
It does. That leads me to believe it might have been built after that.
Right.
And
what
that's
I'm
why
wondering.
they established a treatment unit to it?
One treatment unit doesn't break the deal.
No, and I'm wondering about like the security and maintenance complex. When they give us their staff numbers, does it actually include their employees?
Yes.
Of
We're
their
asking,
groundskeepers?
we're asking for all of their employee headcount, or other technically full, what's it called?
I would not agree.
Equivalent full-time staff.
If they wanted to include these in the original discussion, they should have brought them up at the time. They brought these up after the fact, after we made an agreement, after they determined that the metering pit was what it was all about. It was all about the metering pit. So I will not vote to include the maintenance complex or the security complex. I will not vote for them. I will vote to let the metering pit of the Institute of Politics be included because it does go to the metering pit. We never discussed,
To implement what you just said, when we are to ask for what's their full-time equivalent staff and how many students they have, they're going to have to debit from that number the ones that are working in these other 3 facilities.
well, you know what? We gave them the benefit of the doubt for all the extra events at the Dana Center, which are not included in any calculations, the hockey arena, the football stadium, the other things where they have all this massive amounts of people using bathrooms. We have not included any of that in our data calculations. So I think they're getting as good a deal as I would like to give them.
But anyway, I'm looking for a confirmation.
Of what?
If we ask, in this process we have described in another paragraph, we're asking for what is the number of day students they have?
Where is that in this here?
Right here, bottom of page.
Is this a new agreement here?
This is the agreement they came back to us from.
This is their agreement. Where's
Yes.
the one we sent them? Did they,
Well, it's,
did we,
I don't have.
did we supply them with an agreement?
Yes.
Lynn?
Well,
Yes,
I
we-
thought this was the agreement, and they made changes on the agreement that we
Yes.
sent, and that's what this
Yes,
is.
Mr. Chairman, you allowed me, through Lynn, to send them
Yeah,
a draft of
right.
the agreement.
And this
They-
is it right here.
No, they responded with this, which basically replicates everything I wanted, but they threw a new idea in. Under that recital paragraph, they identified the actual parcel numbers. I never did that.
All right, well, that's fine. So which ones do you concur should stay in? Tax map 363? Yes. Tax
On-
map 341-1?
I'm referring to this sheet right here, yes.
I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about what's right here.
Those are the 8 parcels that are in their agreement. 4 go through the metering pit, the other 4 do not. And my recommendation in the last column on the right, I'm recommending that they should be covered under the new agreement.
You want to give them all these buildings under the new agreement?
I have made a justification why I would reach that conclusion.
Well,
You are making a justification for a different conclusion.
that's fine. So you want to give up $2,225 and change. You want to give up over $2,000 worth of revenue for these other accounts because of the fact that they met some critique because they're employees of the school?
Because we're asking them for a bottom line figure of all employees, then by definition, that would include wherever those employees are and the storage from those facilities they're working in. It makes no difference how that storage goes into our collection system. It's covered by the
Did
agreement.
they supply us with a list of people when we discussed this, or did this get added after the fact, these employees?
We have not seen a list of employees
Right,
yet.
right, so,
But the agreement, as it's defined here, is the same thing that I had in my draft agreement that Lynn sent.
well,
Which
I'm not
was,
as...
give
I'm not
us
as-
a bottom line of all the employees.
That's fine, I've heard that
So-
9 times so far, I've heard it enough. I'm not agreeable to the generosity as your recommendation is in your flow chart over here. Daniel, would you like to speak at all?
What is considered campus? And where is is there a boundary for
No.
a campus?
No.
So they can just acquire, what if they had an office or they own a parcel right here in the village?
Dan, the 8 parcels that I've highlighted in black font, those are essentially the campus.
Yeah.
Soon to be expanded because they're going to have a facility in Bedford.
Maybe.
Where's the sewer gonna go for that? Down Wardley Hill Road?
No, to us.
Oh,
It flows into the main campus. So, and just
No,
for,
there's sewer on Worthley.
but I don't want to terribly complicate this, but
We already
the
have.
college owns many other parcels in the immediate area, and I have identified them in red font. Most of them, they're either vacant or they have private residence on them.
Mr. Chair, can I ask another question?
Go ahead.
So, let's go back to the security maintenance complex.
Mhm.
Not only is that building for security and maintenance, I mean, they do wash in there every day at lot, huge, they have big washing machines. Do we consider that the flow
Yeah.
go into the sewage, and are they getting,
Our sewer superintendent, when the sewer rate was set for that building, they calculated it, what I show, 7 treatment units. So we can only assume that the sewer superintendent made all the proper observations of how that building's being used and what flow goes into the system.
How long ago did that get done?
Mike, you're
Long
gonna get
before me.
that, yeah.
Year ago.
Yeah.
And if- I have to say, if a year ago didn't have a part of the calculation, there's probably a good reason why.
I mean, again, I have no say in the issue, but, I mean, all these items in question, I would send the superintendent out to double check and make sure. I mean, who knows? It could be way off, it could be way high. It just,
This agreement, if any other residents in town or
Yep.
retail business,
yep,
it's that one building. We understand the use of that facility. In this case, we're trying to update a 25-year-old agreement that said, how many treatment units do we bill you for the entire campus complex?
so
We're
then I
trying-
guess I have to ask, what do they consider a treatment unit? What is that?
450 gallons.
450 gallons of discharge, and that's all based on occupancy.
Okay,
Because we don't have water meters into our buildings. In some cases,
We, for all the buildings on the campus, we have never assigned an individual treatment unit for the use of that particular building. We have simply have an umbrella agreement for the entire campus.
okay.
So, up until now, we were negotiating this contract based on, at least my understanding on the parcels that were existing in the previous contract.
Going into the metering pit.
Or it actually, in my opinion, it looks to me like, take the political building out of it, because I think that was probably built after. Anything that's on the other side of St. A's Drive, opposite what you would think is the campus, is actually assigned a bill.
Right.
So it looks like the campus is on one side, and then they have separate parcels on the other side that are not included in the campus. That's what it appears to me.
Except for
The-
341-1.
Yeah, the large Abbey building.
Which is part of the campus, well, it's on that side of the
Right.
road.
Yeah,
Right.
And would be under that umbrella of the 275, or what we increased to 300. Whereas the parcels on the other side are separate parcels.
the Abbey, once again, that matches what conclusions I had drawn. That's part of the main campus, and independent of wherever the flow enters the system,
And
it's
that-
covered by the umbrella.
Exactly, and it looks to me like the umbrella stops at St. A's Drive, at the sidewalk, and those parcels on the other side are getting their own bill because they're not part of that.
The parcels, or so 1475, which is the security maintenance complex, that existed. They owned that before 1990.
Mhm.
And it wasn't included in the 1990 contract.
No, and that's why I say, I think it's because they didn't consider, when the original agreement was done, it does not look like they considered what was on the other side of the road, those separate parcels, as part of the campus. Because it wouldn't, if they considered it part of the campus, it would have been in the original agreement.
That's kind of what I was wondering. Is there a zoning thing? Is the campus zoned differently than the rest of the neighborhood?
I don't believe so.
Or
Actually, there's a zoning map right there. It's probably
The
mixed
entire
use.
area, yes, is residential too. From 114 all the way to the border. Residential too.
What's 1519? They included that in the original agreement, and that's on the
That
other
was
side of the
followed.
street. What is that one? 15, yeah, I don't know what that is. It's in the
two
original
office
agreement.
buildings? Septic system.
Oh, 1519 septic.
What does the red box indicate on your map, Dave?
I can't put all the red numbers in this little box, so I made an expanded view.
Oh, yeah. So they own all these, and they.
And they're not part of the campus, because they don't flow into the metering pit, do they?
They don't.
No.
And all those houses are owned by St. A's.
And they're individual sewer
Their
bills.
staff lives in those houses.
Every
And
one of
they all
those,
get.
every one of the red
individual.
items, Tim, they're covered on this part of my Excel spreadsheet. They're either explained to be vacant or they're residential homes.
Total bill, 341,
1582 also has a septic.
362. I have no problem with stuff that's on the high side of St. A's Drive being included in the agreement, because all those buildings flow to the sewer line. These other ones they want included are not applicable in my book. Other than the politics, which I would concur could be removed.
So the ones that I identify on my Excel spreadsheet is items, without the box.
175,
The one here without the box is
341, 1.
hurt. I wish Lynn hadn't done this
Well,
because
Tim asked me to.
my numbers are exactly the same as hers.
But it's a lot easier to follow over here.
Okay.
341-1 included in 363-41-1. Is the Abbey on its own?
It has a
Bill?
lateral going to St. Am's Drive.
Yeah. It
So-
does not go to the metering pit. It goes through the field out into St. A's.
And what is the charges for 341-1?
That's included under the umbrella
It
because.
has been included under the
Yes.
umbrella in the past?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. 1519,
It's always been in the umbrella.
that's always been under the umbrella.
No,
But it has a-
1519's on a leach field.
But we're allowing them to hook it in if they ever wanted to at this point.
They don't have to because it's not within 125 feet.
Right.
But if it breaks or we have issues with it, will they be forced to hook up to the pipe after that?
No, you gotta be within 100 feet of the sewer to be required to hook into it.
There's no sewer in front right there. It's only on College and St. A's farther down the street. And there's really, after walking out there, there's no viable way for that building to get hooked in unless you were to
So
extend.
Heald Street has no sewer, it's all septic?
Heald Street has sewer, but that parcel is on between College and like Glenridge.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember where the old Boys and Girls Club is?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, those two properties have bought right there.
Yep. I'd like to put a meter on the maintenance building and see how many gallons of water goes through that system.
Why they wash stuff for
Oh,
people?
they wash, they do all this, last I knew, they do all the washing for the, Abbey and the cafeteria and all that stuff. They-
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Is that the Kaminsky Center? Is that the maintenance center? That 25 Glenridge?
No,
No.
that's actually, it's a gym. There's like, I think a basketball courts
Yeah.
and stuff. It's like a little YMCA in there.
Yep,
At the Kaminsky
no, I-
Center, that one or the other?
Lot 1582, it supposedly has a septic system.
It has that one you can hook into the system,
Right, it has a stub going to the
property, yep.
to the
It's just
property,
not
but
hooked
they
in.
never hooked up.
Because at the time, there's nothing wrong with the leach field. They only have to hook it in when the leach field fails.
All right, well, we should move this forward, this discussion.
The bottom line is, we need to make a response back to what the college sent us.
Mhm.
And in their proposal to us, they have physically listed 8 parcel numbers. And so the decision for the commission tonight,
Mhm.
do we strike any of those 8 from in our response back to them? Which is essentially these 4 here.
Also, the red line that says which flows directly into City Manchester's sewage system at a flow metering station located at the southwest corner intersection of St. A's Drive and Rockland Avenue. They struck that and put independent of where the flow enters the sewage
No,
collectors.
I struck that as a recommendation to this commission
So I'm gonna strike that.
and leave the
Leave the-
red valid.
So I'll make a motion to respond to the St. A's request for an agreement by striking tax map 14 lot 75 and by striking tax map 15 lot 57 to be returned to them for consideration. But what is Bedford map 42 lot 62?
That's the sports complex.
Oh, that's not, they don't have any permission for that. That needs to be struck as
That's
well.
why I brought it.
Oh, is that something you put in?
Yes, it's green.
Okay.
I added that. I just want to bring it to the commission's attention. At some point, that would be covered by the agreement. Do we do it now, or?
No, we talked to them about that at the meeting, and we told them we're gonna consider that at the time. It was not included in this discussion.
So-
And he agreed to that, as I
I
remember.
put it in my draft agreement because I wanted the commission to talk about it, which you just did.
We already talked about it once, but we're talking about it again this time. So I have a motion on the table, discussion on the motion. Or no, it hasn't been seconded yet. Anybody gonna second it, or is it gonna fail? Just how you get things moving. You make a motion, if it fails, you make another motion. The only thing that we're looking at changing is those two map numbers. Everything else would remain the same as the agreement came in.
So you did
Now,
not, you did not include,
363?
13.8. You're leaving that in, and we're going to forfeit 1 TU.
Yes.
Also, 1519 is in this, written into the agreement, but they're not
Where is 1519?
part of
That's
the
the
sewer
leach field.
system.
Oh, that's the leach field. Yeah, well, that's already
So we should-
included, so leave it in there, as far as I'm concerned.
Why? No, we don't want to include it. Right?
Can they hook onto the sewer with that? Is there a way to hook onto it?
Not unless you extend the main somewhere.
Right, well, if they want to pay to extend the main, that's another subject.
Well, we should strike that from the
You
agreement.
want to strike 1519 as well? It
Right
was-
now, it's moot, because
It's
it's not
moot.
even,
We can assume that the commission waived their mandatory connection. So because.
but there wasn't a mandatory connection.
Commission allowed them to have a septic field rather than a mandatory connection.
Right.
And at some point, if that septic field fails, they have to do some upgrade or
You know,
connect.
what is that building, Corey? 1519?
Office.
Yeah, their offices.
To
Which they've included in their calculation for their employees on campus, and it's on the campus. So I could say we could give them that one, Daniel. If they want to spend the money to extend the main and hook it on, we could give them that one. That's within the campus boundaries, which we see.
Well,
Then
then we're,
It's kind of, it's on the other side of the road. It's out of the campus, if you look at it that way.
Oh, it's across the
It's
street
across the
from you?
street.
My mistake. All right, I want to amend my motion to strike tax map 1519, lot 19 as well.
It's mute to them because it doesn't connect.
Doesn't matter, they put it in there. So it needs to come out. So my motion is to return the agreement, striking tax map 1475, tax map 1519, and tax map 1557 from the agreement.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstention?
I will agree with you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so that's three yes, no nays, and no abstention. Motion passes. So let's send it back to them. Who's being tasked with this? Lynn? Yes?
Do you want me to do it, Dave? Or
Yes.
do you, okay, so I'll just,
Your job.
You can take their original agreement and you can do just what I did, and you can line out the property numbers.
okay, I will do that,
Send a draft copy to all of us
okay,
by email before you send it.
okay.
Did we strike out this?
Dave,
I know, but when we send them back,
we're sending it back the way it was, which flows directly into the City of Manchester sewage system at a flow metering station located at the southwest corner of the intersection of St. Anne Drive and Rockland Avenue.
And get rid of
That
his
is
green
included.
writing?
except
The
this
green-
one does not.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, we're including it in the agreement, and then then the agreement says it flows into the metering pit, but in reality, it does not.
That was the textual problem I had.
Which
Do we-
one?
So we should strike the
Which one? Daniel?
metering.
We
This is
could-
unnecessary.
We
the
could
whole-
add a sentence saying that, what is it, 1519 is, we could add it right here. 1519 is not part of this agreement because it has a waived second system.
No, I mean 341.1. Oh, well, I'm talking about 341.1 now.
341.1.
Because that flows into our, that does not flow to the metering bit.
341.
341-1 is on
Oh,
the campus.
yeah, 41-1 is the big Abbey building. That
That's in the
That
agreement.
lateral goes to the north and west, and it connects into St. Anselm's Drive and flows west. It doesn't go to the meter.
But they don't get a bill for it, right?
Right.
We're giving them that one even though it doesn't flow to the metering pit.
Correct.
I'm saying that we don't need the red sentence at the end.
All right, well then, we'll strike, make a motion to strike the sentence then.
I'll make a motion to strike the,
What we show is red here.
as read, which was,
Begins with which and ends with avenue, right?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. I'll second the motion. Any discussion on the motion?
Therefore, yeah, that's, I'll vote yes.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
I,
Opposed, abstention, motion passed.
That's a good change because it takes out a definition of how we're defining these parcels.
So I'm gonna leave that green and Bedford map 4262-1,
that-
or no?
No, that's
That's
the
coming out
proposed
too.
sports complex that isn't even built yet.
So get that out of there.
Yeah.
And then leave the green independent of where the flow enters,
No.
or get that out? So I'm just
No.
stopping at parcel, that
Collectively.
collectively the parcel. Okay.
so everything in red is what they sent us. Green was just Dave's
Yeah.
proposals. We are only changing what they sent us.
Okay.
The one tax map 3 lot 63 that's stricken, that's duplicated,
Right.
right? Accidentally?
Right.
Okay. All right, well, make it up and we have our notes here tonight. We'll look at your draft copy.
Okay.
You don't need to do the whole thing. You only need to
Yeah,
do
just make the
the
changes.
recitals
Yep,
paragraph.
yep. Okay. Okay.
Oh, there's one other thing.
You know, what is it, Dana?
Dave, you have I see some
You got a green down at the bottom.
little, a small addition at the
Thank you,
bottom.
Dan. We have yet to receive the head count of students and employees effective 1 October this year. I put that in there to make them, because when they come back in 4 years, and they're going to give us, per this agreement, they're going to give us students and effective employees, we have nothing to bounce it against.
Okay, good. So that's
We
the
need to
point.
know the baseline this year, so 4 years from now, when they have 500 new employees, we will then have a justification for going to.
So Len, you're going to include the green lineage that David added at the bottom of the page in the new draft agreement?
Yep.
So I'll make a motion to.
No, we'll just let her just do it. Just put it in.
Okay.
Thank you, Daniel, for catching that.
Okay.
Okay, what's this outlook here, Lynn? What is this? We have a payment request from Sherbon.
Yes, what's his name, Mike sent it to me, and I just sent you, I just made a copy of the email that he sent me explaining it, and I need a motion, I need you to sign it.
So tell us what it is, Lynn.
Well, it's the payment application number 5 for the East Union and Riverview pump stations. He said he reviewed it, and approved this payment application. Hoyle Tanner has approved and signed it, just needs to be approved and signed by the sewer commission.
Did we vote on this already?
No.
So we'll be left with 2% contingency for 68,816.70. Corey, what's your statement on everything all done?
Yes, correct.
And actually, at the last meeting, we signed the certificate of substantial completion. So this is just payment to reach that point.
Here, sign this one, Tim.
So we need, we didn't vote to pay this yet, right, Lynn?
No.
Right, they had not.
Okay, so one of you men has to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to, approve, let's see, hold on.
Payment that.
To approve payment.
I'll make a motion to approve payment application number 5 from Sherbon Consolidated for the Goffstown East Union and Riverview Pump Station project in total of $138,522.55.
Motion to pay the bill. David, you
Yes,
second? David,
seconded.
Seconded by Dave. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes.
And I also am going to need another motion. This is the warrant for the second half for the November bills going out for sewer. I need somebody, I wrote the motion down on a piece of paper there for somebody to make.
Motion to approve the November 2024 sewer warrant in the amount of $842,256.34.
I'll second it. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
There's your cheat sheet.
But you're changing 275 to 300.
Huh? What?
On the bill you're about to send out.
Yeah,
did
no,
you-
I didn't change that. I kept it to whatever it was.
Should.
We told them it was gonna
Should their
stay.
November bill be 275 or 300?
We said we weren't gonna change it. We were leaving it at what it was.
What are we talking about? Our new billing?
The bill she's sending out momentarily.
To who?
The one that we've just been discussing
To
for
the
a whole
college?
hour.
For St. A's?
Yes.
We told them it wasn't gonna change until next year.
No, we can't send them a bill. They haven't agreed to the new rate
Okay,
yet.
I just want to clarify that.
No, when the new rate, be in 6 months, they'll start.
I
hopefully
thought-
firing. Yep.
I thought the previous discussion may have included that.
Well, if we had signed it tonight, we could have, but they,
We told them all along that we weren't going to do that. We weren't gonna include it, and it wouldn't start till next year. Dave, I need you to sign that, please. And then the last thing on the agenda is Corey.
yeah, Corey has Overwatch Foundation update, Corey?
I met with Brian Ray, our IT director, about this, and he said it's nothing that is useful to us because we don't have the type of equipment that you would use the grant money to upgrade. So it's nothing for us.
What is it?
It's basically to upgrade like SCADA, which is more of a, and we don't have SCADA, so it's kind of useless to us,
Did
So
you,
what's your recommendation?
to forget about it.
can you follow up with her, because she keeps calling me?
Yeah, I'll follow up.
And asking,
Salesman? Salesperson?
The other thing I wanted to mention is when we had the fuel tank and everything looked at East Union, we found something that's very out of code in the building, which there's a day tank inside, it's a diesel tank, inside the generator room
A
next.
what?
A day tank.
What's a day tank?
It's a fuel tank. Because that day tank sucks out of the main fuel tank and stores fuel
To run the generator?
to run the
Yeah,
generator.
go ahead.
It's way out of code. Shouldn't be in, needs to be changed and updated to meet code.
So where's our engineers we paid all the money to look at our building and tell us about our building?
Yeah, nobody caught that.
They didn't look at the actual equipment. they looked at the structural.
The structure,
build.
yeah.
That was their task.
And the-
was to look
So
at-
what else, so what are we looking at?
We got one quote from the guy that looked at the tank for us, and it's around 12 grand.
We need more quotes.
Well, I was gonna get 2 more, but I just wanted to let you know.
So what do you wanna do?
We have to change it from metal to plastic.
You need to put a plastic tank in.
Double wall plastic. Now it's single wall metal.
Does it have to have a holding pen to the capacity of what's in that tank? If-
That's why it's a double wall probably, without the,
Yeah, what makes it out of cold is it's single wall.
right.
It needs
So
to
if
be
you had a
double.
holding tank for it, it could be considered in compliance?
It is a holding tank.
No, I mean, a separate vessel that it sits in, like a concrete tank or something. Should it leak, it would.
Like they now do at Highway for the people that bring in the oil, the waste oil.
Oh, yeah.
You'll notice they raise the, and they have underneath a tank that's probably 4x4 or 4x8. So if anything breaks, if
Yeah, it goes into the
it goes,
bottom.
and it doesn't go anyplace else, I'm just thinking
Yeah.
of that for the,
How old's the tank, Corey?
It was 1989.
And how much does it hold?
Oh, the outdoor tank?
No, the
No,
indoor
how-
tank.
Yeah, how
Probably
big?
like a 10-gallon tank.
Oh, that's it.
10
It's-
gallons?
Yeah, it's not very
Oh.
big. It literally mounts on the
Wait,
wall.
why would it be 12 grand?
Because you have to rip the whole system out and replace the system.
Tell me about the system.
I would need to get all the specs
You
for you.
mean like the pump that pumps it from the primary
From the
tank?
tank, yeah. That would all have to get changed.
Out of line. We need to get some,
No, I
Get
had
some more
one
information
price
on
from
it.
the guy that actually told us, like, nobody probably would ever tell you this, but like, this is not up to code.
all right, we'll discuss it, talk to Trank about it too, loop him in.
Okay.
Yeah, he might, could Trank write a more formal set of
Sure
bid
he could.
specifications?
Yeah.
And get
Well,
a,
for a
therefore,
contract.
with better written language of what we need changed, he can get
Well, before-
more people to bid on.
Before we give Mike another big, just,
We're gonna have a couple more oil
Loop him
companies
in.
come and look at it. And-
who's our oil supplier? Hafner?
No.
No.
Irving? Irving.
Yeah.
yes, I
think
believe
it's
it's Irving.
I
Well,
know
no,
our
that's for
propane is,
Propane.
yeah. I haven't really seen any
We
oil
don't have
bills,
an
so I
oil
don't
vendor
know.
actually, because we don't get oil
Yeah, I would say I've
deliveries.
never seen
Oh, that's
oil.
true.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I guess if we were to get a delivery, it would be through, what was it?
Hafner?
I
Or-
think DK Dennis or whatever.
Yeah. DK
Oh,
Dennis.
yeah. Dennis Burke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you engage Hafner's to come down and look at it too, they're a local company.
Yeah, we're gonna do Hafner's and Irving. See what we can.
Report back to us,
Come
if
up
it
with.
made it this long, it can make it another month.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. We're just letting you know.
That's what we said about the tanks under the high school when they brought them forward to
Mhm.
CIP for years and years.
Would it be cheaper to convert from oil to propane?
You have
For
to
the
change the generator.
You have to throw the whole
Yeah.
generator away.
Oh.
Yeah. Good
I
idea,
haven't
but
been there in years.
not feasible.
Yeah, that one's not.
What's the tank outside, 500 gallons?
It's 300 or 500, that's the,
No, it's a 500 or 1,000.
oh, 500.
Yeah.
Nobody knows?
You'd have to like have somebody with like a sonic machine go and test it.
And that tank has been in since we built the place in the 70s?
89.
And we've had tank testing that it is not rusting out, we've had that
It's
tank?
fiberglass.
Oh, it's a fiberglass tank? Well, somebody was thinking there, good. Good.
It's a fiberglass tank and it's 3/4 full. It's either half full or 3/4 full, depending on the size, correct?
Yeah, it was either like it had 600 gallons in it or 300 gallons, depending on if it was a 5 or 1,000.
Another project. Oversight by people not watching this, minding this.
And there's no documentation on the
I looked
installation.
through everything we have, I can't find anything.
Okay, anybody else got anything else for the commission tonight? Corey?
Nope.
We discussed,
Yes, I do.
9 South Mast Road
Oh, yeah.
at the last,
They will be getting a sewer. No, they did take, I checked right after that meeting. They had already paid their accessibility fee. And, yeah, no. They were, I didn't know what the address was, but yeah, they're good.
We got Dave.
When I went to the annual meeting with the Manchester Regional Treatment Facility, they gave all the participants analysis of the sewer flow for the various communities, and he presented me an analysis of the adverse metal elements that are in the sewer flow. One for the town of Gulfstown, pipes, and the St. Anselm's lateral going to Manchester. And the one that's they're out of spec because of contamination of mercury over from 23, 2 observations in 23 and 2 observations in 24. The town had 2 out-of-spec observations in 24. So, as a commission, Mr. Superintendent, are we supposed to be concerned or try to do anything to bring those under control?
Yeah.
What is our role? How do we do that?
We start visiting anything, any entities that are tied to our system that might use or have a byproduct of mercury with whatever they do, and that is mainly dental offices. So I've pulled out all our permits that go out to dentist office, review them, and we're gonna hit all the dentist office to make sure all their equipment is compliant. As far as St. A's, we'll have to sit down with St. A's if it was on their meter too. They don't have like a dental program that I know of there. So I'm not
They
sure
were-
where it would come from.
Chemistry
They were
laboratories.
fine for 3 years, you know, and then all of a sudden, just like that, everything else.
Well, they have chemistry labs, don't they, at this college?
I-
I'm sure they offer
Very well,
chemistry as a
yeah.
college class.
What about the other place, I don't know if it comes into our systems or not, but, Daniel Plummer Road, all the industrial buildings up there,
None of
nothing?
them, those all have leach
Yeah,
fields.
that's sewer, yeah.
Actually, this was detected at the metering pit
Oh, it
at
depends.
St. A's.
Okay.
And the only flow into that metering pit
Is
is
St.
from
A's.
St. A's.
Yeah.
So are they doing subsequent testing?
It appears to
Manchester
be,
does.
yes, these are like every 6 months. It's done by Manchester.
Right. And it's continued to be high every 6 months?
The last 2 observations for the town are high. The last 4 observations for the St. Anselm's are high.
So it's still happening. It's not, it
Yes.
wasn't a one-shot event that happened and cleansed itself.
And I went back to our 20-year agreement with Manchester and looked at what they describe about adverse chemicals or metals. And it gives me the impression that Manchester could say, you, Gulfstown, must do something about this. And we want you to hire a third-party engineer to provide their assessment of how to control this. And so I don't think, we don't want to be in that position where somebody tells us how to hire.
So be proactive and not
We
reactive.
need to be proactive and try to do something, and then hopefully.
Absolutely. And in researching the whole thing is where we come up with dental offices are #1 for mercury in the sewer, in the system.
Have you contacted the college yet?
I have not contacted the college yet.
Well, I think it'd be a good opportunity for you to contact the college and show them those sheets and ask them they need to figure out what's going on their campus.
Would Mr. Furlong, as Director of Facilities, be a good start? for
Sure.
them?
Absolutely. Sooner the better, Corey.
Yep.
Before construction kicks in the spring.
That was my new business, sir.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, we need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made, seconded by Daniel.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. We are adjourned.